Hi guys, it's me, Arden Lee. I am back with another video today. And today's video is about giving people the time and space that they need to change. This is a lesson that I've been very lucky to learn from some of my clients. And even though it applies to far more than just the coach and client relationship, it applies to those in our friendships, those in our professional spheres, our colleagues, our peers, and so it's really quite a universal lesson. But I happen to learn this in particular and integrate it through some of my experiences with my clients, and I'm very grateful for that because it was a bit humbling. It was a rather humbling lesson to learn. And that's cool because whenever I'm humbled, I'm always like, oh wow, there's a lot of growth happening here. So even though it can be daunting, I tend to get excited about it now because I know that whatever is on the other side is going to be really great. And so let me talk about how I learned this particular lesson. I am the creator of an 8-week course called the Repatterning Project. If you guys don't know already, if you're not already watching my videos, check out the description box. You can find a free PDF guide about it. You can also find the Repatterning Parlor, which is a free Facebook group that I moderate for people who are interested in doing the work. And the Repatterning Project is a container where we learn a comprehensive view of our human operating system so that we can know the way that our patterns, our mindsets, our beliefs form, which gives us the power to backwards engineer them. And we work on essentially rewiring ourselves for the success that we want, releasing any trauma imprints or social conditioning that are still getting in our way with their outdated programming. And something about this is that this work is deeply transformational. And the more transformational it is, the more confronting it is, right? If we are about to embark on a very serious change in our lives, that's going to be scary. It's going to be scarier than, something where, I don't know, we sign up to learn a new skill set or whatever it is, we decide to sign up for some business coaching, which is great. I've done, I've definitely signed up for business coaching. It can be very confronting too because it confronts our limiting beliefs around our gifts and our receiving. But to do this internal work on such a comprehensive base level is very confronting because it's like, wow, we've been living under these patterns this whole time, and they were absolutely unnecessary. We could have just, had we been able to see the key, we could have just released them at any point. That's not to blame ourselves because, of course, we need to be shown the way, right? We need to be shown what is possible. It's not our fault for not seeing what we couldn't see before we could see it. But once we do know we can see it, we don't have an excuse anymore, right? Once we know that there is a solution out there, we either take that solution, we take forward action on it, or we have to admit to ourselves at some point that we're not doing the work, that we're making a choice not to do the work. Or we'll lie to ourselves about it and say, well, that doesn't work. That's just a whole bunch of, that's a ripoff. That's someone who's just trying to take your money or whatever, right? Whatever that is, someone who is a graduate of the Repatterning Project, spoke to me recently about having a friend come forward and saying, you're just buying into all this pop psychology lately. Who even are you anymore, right? So some people, they don't want to admit to themselves that the choice is right there, and they could be doing the same thing too. Anyway, because of that, it is deeply confronting work. And sometimes in the past, I've been enrolling for my courses, and I'll be telling everyone, like, look, this is what you're going to get out of it. I see you on here complaining all the time, right? I see you on your social media. I see where you're stuck. I see where you're having the same complaints over and over again. And here's the solutions. They're right here, right? And there have been people in the past that had either spoken to me about it or wanted more information or were kind of poking around it, and they just wouldn't move off the time. And, people I even jumped on calls with, come on, do this. You know what you want. Why is this not moving forward for you? And I kind of, I'm glad I wasn't like rude, right? I really try hard to hold a space of kindness for people. But on the inside, I was like, what are y'all doing? Like, come on, do your shit or don't, Sometimes I take doing this work a little too personally, right? I've learned to detach a little more. That's partly what this is about. And then something miraculous happens, which is that without any prompting, just out of the blue, weeks or months later, they'll come forward, and I'm sure there'll be some that'll even be years later, right? as I get to a point where I'm doing this longer, there will be people who put it off, I'm sure, for years, and then one day, all of a sudden, they're ready. And so just out of the blue, I'd given up on this person long ago. Oh my God, I already got them on a sales call. They're not going to do anything, they're just wasting my time, wasting their time. They're just thinking about it and they're not going to do it. And then inevitably they come back and all of a sudden they're like, all right, I'm ready. Here's my deposit. Sign me up. I'm in. I'm committed. And I'm like, wow. All right. You did the thing. Cool. Where did that come from, And I realized that I had been underestimating them. I had been thinking, oh, just because you're not doing work now means you are not committed. When in reality, perhaps they just needed to wait until they felt an alignment on the inside. Perhaps they were dealing with fear already. They were like, I really want to do it, but I got to gear myself up. I got to meditate on it for a while. Maybe I have to create some more stability in my life first or whatever. And, there's merit to the idea that this can go too far in the other direction, that we're always waiting to be ready. We're always waiting for the right time. And it's just not going to happen. If you could be completely fearless about taking a big leap, you would have already leapt. You're always going to feel fear when you make a big move forward. So, yeah, you don't want to wait for the perfect time. The perfect time doesn't exist. But there's so much in the coaching world about, do it now or you're not committed, You're on this phone call with me. You know what you want, John Doe, so why don't you just do it? And I understand because, naturally in the business coaching world, there is this value system where those fast action results are really valued. A lot of money right away is valued. Big quantum leaps are valued. Understandable, because that's what the business coaching students are coming there to learn how to do. It's in their best interest for their coaches to make sure that their pendulum is swinging away from fear, right? Something that a coach I admire a lot says a great deal is either you're enrolling them in your vision or they're enrolling you in their fear. And there's a lot of merit to that because most of us who are coaches, we get on a call and we feel fear, we feel nervousness, we don't want to come off as too pushy, too salesy, and we just kind of like, all right. And we fail to really step into the fullness of inviting someone to show up for themselves, right? We fail to really communicate the vision. We fail to say, hey, if you do this work, this is going to happen for you. And these problems that you're worried about are going to sort themselves out and they're going to solve. But I also see, and this gets talked about less, I also see coaches who take it so personally when someone doesn't invest in themselves right away after the first sales call or during the first sales call, right? They're like, they basically get to a point where they just outright dismiss them. And I've heard, I've heard coaches recommend saying like, all right, well, we're making a decision right now. Either you're a yes or you're a no. And if you're not sure, then I'm going to decide for you, and it's going to be a no because I want someone who's committed. I got to stop for a minute and just be like, who are you fooling? That may be all well and good to say on a sales call, but you know that if they say no, then they call you back in 6 months and they say, okay, I'm ready. What are you going to say? No? Someone's now ready to step up for themselves, and because it wasn't happening on your timeline, you're going to deny them that opportunity? No, of course not. If a client shows up and they're ready for you, then that's wonderful, right? That's always a good thing. So I wanted to bring this up because I think it relates to the way that we love to, cancel culture, right? I don't like saying outrage culture in a derogatory manner because a lot of our outrage is really justified, right? And for people who are not doing the work, who are making excuses, yeah, I get outraged because we are living in an ascension period and we need everything we can, have you looked outside lately? We need all the inner peace and the bandwidth that we can possibly get because we need to be doing the work. We need to be helping this planet, this global culture move towards sustainability and omni-consideration, and each of us plays a part in that. And you're not going to be able to play your part if you haven't sorted all your shit out. You're still going to be leaking your energy toward, ignoring the fact that your life is being set on fire in multiple places and deciding to just dye your hair instead, right? I see people like that on my Facebook feed a lot, and I'm like, you guys, what was more important to you? Where are your priorities? And everyone's at the place in their journey where they're at, whatever. So I try to hold compassion for that, but I've also got to, this is not. If we just say that everything is cool, then what are we advocating for? What are we taking a stand for, right? I want to take a stand for people to be better, and to really come into their own power, their own self-awareness, which sometimes means that yeah, there are certain options that are better than others. But at the same time, I don't want to cancel anybody. This even goes for people who make great big mistakes. There may be people in this time of unrest and uncertainty where our social codes and our metrics of what is acceptable and what is not acceptable are changing very, very quickly. And there are going to be people who make mistakes because they've been focusing in other areas and they missed some things. And I want to leave space for those people to be better too. There is another kind of work that they are going to need to do. It may be similar internal work, right? Maybe accountability work. Ultimately, accountability is also about looking at our patterns of perhaps creating harm where we didn't mean to, and what we need to change in order to bring that into our conscious awareness and stop our patterns of harmful behavior, right? We don't always know. And I bring that up because, again, if I say, well, that person didn't change right now, I'm leaving no room for them to come back and change in the future. Now I can understand that things are happening very quickly and we want progress quickly, and that's understandable because this is a time of crucial evolution. And that's fine, but are you going to completely rule someone out and not leave space for them to come back when they're ready? Are you going to do that on your sales calls? Or are you going to do that in your friendships? I don't advise necessarily doing it in committed relationship, because committed relationship is It is more of a binary, typically, than things like our friendships or our work relationships, our colleagueships, right? If we're in a committed relationship, we've committed to someone as our partner. If they're not ready to do the work, it may be that we need to let them go for a while. And we can also give that person space and time to do the work and come back. Now we're not going to wait around for them, right? We're going to say what we're going to say yes to what we're a yes to in our body if something else comes along and that person isn't ready yet. But what's better? Right? Just completely canceling someone entirely. Maybe if your dynamic has gotten so toxic or unhealthy or harmful to you that you need to do that, that's great, right? That's why I said our committed relationships are a little bit different from our friendships or our colleagueships. So we want to be more mindful in that consideration. But if you can end a relationship agreement and say, hey, if you work on this, the door is open, potentially, feel free to at least check. Feel free to at least knock, I'm giving you time and space to address this. If you need to, you can come back to it. You might be surprised, just in the same way that I was pleasantly surprised by some of my clients now who are like my favorite clients, who in the first couple months that they were sort of flirting with the idea of doing the work were really hesitant in ways that at the time really frustrated me. I was like, it's right there, why don't you just do it? Right? So easy, just say yes. And for whatever reason, there was stuff that they had to align with before they could be that full, wholehearted, committed yes. And I think it is unwise to not leave room for people to come back and be a yes to things. So whether that is in your professional relationships, whether you're a coach, or whether this is just about your friendships, give it some thought. Just because something is not happening now doesn't mean it won't ever happen. And detachment is about letting go of your need to see it happen and just say, well, if it does, great. And if not, I'm just going to keep living my own life. There is space for improvement, but I'm not attached to it. Shows up, wonderful. If it doesn't, then we're not in alignment. No hard feelings. So I'd like us to zoom out on the timeline a little more to understand that just because something is one way in the present moment doesn't mean that it will be that way forever. Sometimes people finally get that urge and say, okay, I'm going to take that big plunge now. I'm ready. So if you allow them space to be ready, to get themselves ready, it's a generous action. It's a very loving one to do. So I encourage you to think a little bit more that way. And if you are someone who decides that you are ready, we have less than a month left till we start the Repatterning Project Summer 2019. We start June 30th. I am so stoked. We have an amazing group of people, and I would love for you to be part of that container. So if it is calling to you, you will feel it. You will feel it in your body. You'll be like, oh my God, that thing. Ooh, I want those results. I wish I could do that, right? Well, hop on a call with me. We will figure out how to make it work for you. So get over that fear. Do you really want to have to wait until, early 2020 to start this process, right? A year from now, you will wish you had started today. So I know I just said, leave space for people to show up. And if you show up a year from now, 2 years from now, as long as I'm still offering the course, which I anticipate I probably will be, of course you will be welcome. But I'd also I'd also advise you to realize that it's just about that moment that you take the jump. And whenever you take the jump, that's what's going to happen. So I hope that we see you. Give me shout out by PM. Reach out to me if you want to hop on a call about that. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you soon.